Mortuary Assistant, a solo-developed made indie horror game where you play as a mortuary assistant. It's in the title. However, you will soon find that things are a bit off. With strange happenings, can you survive the night? Is Mortuary Assistant worth it? And most importantly, could it be the scariest game of the year? Let's find out. We will be looking at Mortuary Assistant within three main categories. They are the visuals, the gameplay, and the story. The footage you'll see in the background was all taken from my stream on Twitch, but don't worry, there won't be any spoilers in this video. Visually, Mortuary Assistant goes and achieves a very realistic look. Its initial visual style doesn't give off the impression of being a horror game. The colours are warm and the palette isn't desaturated as you see with a lot of other horror games that go for a realistic visual style. I do like what the developer has done here. One of the many ways the game puts you into a false sense of security. When playing a game like Madison or Visage, the colour palette being more dim and toned down, it gives you that preparation that you are playing a horror game. You already know that you're playing a horror game. Here, you are not prepared in that way, and the game will still pull off some of the best and brilliant jump scares and horror aspects I've seen in a long while within horror games. Through my time playing, I didn't actually discover any visual bugs or have any frame rate issues. It's a game that, from its outset, you can just tell has had a lot of love and time spent by the developer to make everything just right. Some models lack some textures or details, however they are things you don't spend time looking at or are easily forgivable, as gameplay will always trump the visuals. The models and animations are really on point. From the things that will jump out, creep out, peer around, are all well animated and are a true visual appeal, or visual horror, shall we say. This game will make you jump. Its models are various, so expect a lot of different things to try and scare you, but we'll get to that a little later. The bodies that you are preparing, they have the most detail to them. There's been a lot of time spent here, and really they should, right? From the process of getting the body ready, the developer has spent time to make sure these all look and the systems feel good to use. So far, a strong visual style, which shows the love the dev has for this game. The gameplay in Mortuary Assistant is very simple. You are to prepare 3 bodies. Note down characteristics of the person that has recently deceased, such as their age, and then any marks that you find on them, some abnormal marks, things like that. Followed by the process of preparing the body, you'll need to walk around to find the items you need and follow a strict order in how you prepare the body. You'll also need to complete all the general admin of a Mortuary Assistant, like inputting that information into the computer, printing it off, adding it to the clipboard, you know, just the general wear and tear of being a Mortuary Assistant. But don't worry, this may not sound too exciting. However, things aren't always as they seem. You'll see things happening out of the corner of your screen. Items move, you'll see figures, hear things, and you'll realize you can't trust anything. You can't even trust the phone. As you go through the night, the paranormal occurrences, they get worse, including, but not limited to, hallucinations. The gameplay itself is simple. It's like a walking simulator, really, but that doesn't mean the game is easy. You have to prepare the bodies, identify which body is actually possessed by a demon, identify what demon you're dealing with, and then burn the correct body, all while trying to get through the horrifying experiences the game throws at you, and trying to get through the night. Gets worse when you realize all the jump scares are random, meaning each playthrough is different, so you aren't able to predict when something will happen. This, for me, shoots Mortuary Assistant so high in my list for that scariest game of the year. Mortuary Assistant has a lot of replayability because of this, and it will make you jump, and it will make you jump repeatedly on multiple playthroughs. And if you're anything like me, parts of it just make me not want to progress. Preparing the body can be a little bit much for those who are squeamish, so beware, you are cutting open bodies here, though there's nothing too horrific or bloody about that preparation stages. Mortuary Assistant doesn't really have much of a soundtrack. It doesn't use music to build suspense, instead it uses silence to hold tension, with sound being from things that actually are happening within your environment. A phone ringing, doors slamming or creaking, thunderstorms outside. All of these sounds are emphasized when there is no other music playing. The game will keep you on the edge of your seat. With no audible music to help identify possible jump scares, it very much reminds me of how The Woman in Black, the film, used silence to break the stereotypes that had been in film that made jump scares much easier easier to predict, and I like that they have taken that approach within the Mortuary Assistant. With 5 different endings, plus maybe 1 or 2 more hidden ones, there's a lot of reason to replay Mortuary Assistant. Although the jump scares are random, and the things that happen are random, the actual gameplay of preparing the body is still the same. The process is the same for all 3 bodies. I'm sure you could argue that more could be added here, but I feel honestly that for the type of horror experience it isn't necessary. And for a solo developer, what has been achieved here is pretty incredible. One thing I will say is if you have played the demo, you'll find that the demo probably was more scary than the actual main game itself. It feels like the jump scares in the demo were more compressed and happened one after the other, never allowing you to fully recover from the brown pants aisle. However, the full release, there are a lot more spread out. Alongside this being random encounters, my first playthrough, I actually only had a small handful of maybe 3 or 4 things actually happen, which honestly was a real disappointment. But upon a further playthrough, I got much more. I got back to that feeling of playing the demo, which brought my feelings about the game back up. So prepare, dear viewer, you may need to do more than one playthrough to feel fully satisfied by the Mortuary Assistant. With a playthrough only taking an hour or so to complete, it makes this repeat journey much more appealing. So there's no slog through a 9-hour journey to repeat for a different ending or a different experience. Oh, fuck. So moving on to the story of Mortuary Assistant. If I'm going to be honest, the story feels more like an add-on to the gameplay, something to frame the game rather than a game built on a story. You are obviously a Mortuary Assistant, and you soon learn that you have to dispose of a demon in one of the 3 bodies you need to prepare. Aside from that though, the story itself is really self-contained and it's nothing too inspiring. What I did like was during certain hallucination events, you get to explore the main character's history and their backstory, and there were some shocks to be had here for sure. And I really enjoyed learning about this person and their history, trying to piece together what happened in the past and how they got to where they are in the present. It will take multiple playthroughs to fill out this story, but as I see it, honestly, it's more opportunities to replay the game. Added on to the random jump scare mechanics and 5 different endings to achieve, there is a lot to do and a lot to see in Mortuary Assistant. Despite its average playthrough only taking an hour or so, you can definitely extend that out into several hour journey, which when you compare that amount of gameplay to its price, that is a really fair deal. The main story isn't the strong point of Mortuary Assistant. It feels more like it framed a reason for the events that are taking place rather than a fully fledged story, giving context to the gameplay and the horror experience. And honestly, this is fine. I didn't go into this game for its story. I went into it wanting to be left shaking. Okay, we're doing the embalming. Oh, you did not just fucking click. Oh, no, I don't like it. I don't fucking like it. Overall, Mortuary Assistant has been crafted with love to a community that just want a good jump scare and a good horror game. I believe this has been achieved. The developer has delivered what some larger game development companies can only hope to produce. Well thought out jump scares, replayability that isn't excessive or exhaustive, with an average playthrough that hits right in the sweet spot for the style of gameplay Mortuary Assistant goes for. If you are looking for a dark horror story or an action horror, you might want to give Mortuary Assistant a miss, as this game is very much in the walking simulator genre within horror, similar to games such as Madison and Visage. However, compared to those games, less story but more replayability. If you are looking for a game for a good jump scare that is replayable, Mortuary Assistant has got you covered. Random mechanics, good visuals, and replayability to boot. If you enjoy your paranormal horrors such as, say, Summer of 59, you'll feel right at home here, and I really do urge you to give it a go. It was a great experience. Just don't forget, you may get a playthrough which is lackluster. Not bad, just lackluster due to those random mechanics. Have you played Mortuary Assistant? If so, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't, will you give it a go? I want to hear all about it. As for if Mortuary Assistant is the scariest game of the year, that still remains to be seen. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you wish to see more from me. I appreciate any and all support. You guys are awesome. I also stream live on Twitch. You can find me at twitch.tv/cityshards. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
I suffer no bondage but this rotting, weak, pathetic corpse. Look at me! Look at this pitiful flesh I am service to. But this body is no longer mine.